Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. I'm Miles here with Nick and Joey. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. What a crazy game we just witnessed.
Yeah, I'm also doing well. Feel a bit like I need a sedative or something after just one of the most insane playoff games I think we can all say of our experience.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely the best game of the playoffs. In this game, game one of the Eastern Conference Finals with the Pacers and the Knicks. So many storylines heading into the game, and somehow the game even exceeded our expectations going in. Final score of this one was the Pacers winning it in overtime, 138 to 135. They do it again, stealing a game on the road, but it is how we got here that was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the fourth quarter was obviously incredible overtime. For the first time ever in the history of the Run in the Paint podcast, we actually sat here and rewatched the full highlights of the game before going into this podcast because we had to just relive the incredibleness that just happened. But I guess let's start right back at the beginning of the game where the Pacers, after a week off after their second round win against the Cavaliers, came out guns blazing again, hitting their first 8 or 9 shots from the field. Nick, what were your thoughts on how both teams came out to start this game?
Well, I mean, yeah, from wire to wire, this game was just as dramatic as it gets. Indy came out and hit their first nine shots, and the Knicks were on fire as well. Just not a whole lot of defensive interior presence from either of these teams in the first quarter. So it just felt like it was going to be whoever could score the most points. Um, the Knicks offense was unstoppable for almost the entire four quarters of the game. Meanwhile, Indiana kind of went in spurts. Like I said, they started hot and then kind of got cold when Tyrese left the game. But it was Miles Turner in the beginning of the game who hit two or three threes, big shots in the first quarter. And then down the stretch, Aaron Nesmith was just absolutely unconscious, lights out to will them back into the game.
Joey, what stood out to you from that first half on the Knicks side of things? Because they ended really both the first and second quarters on a high note, had, I believe, an 8 point lead heading into halftime.
Yeah, the Knicks played great. Jalen Brunson started off great. Cat was playing great. I know a little bit later, but still, Ananobi was hitting some big shots. Everybody was kind of doing their role. Campaign finally had a couple threes. They pointed out that he hasn't done that since the first game of the Piston series, and he hit, I think, back to back in the second quarter. Like, great minutes, and it was great for the bench to play meaningful minutes and have the rest that Jalen Brunson needed because they haven't really gotten that. They're not really used to that, to be honest. But it was great for them, and honestly, it should have led to success. It was a perfectly played first half. It was just that fourth quarter and those last couple minutes that they gave it away.
Yep. I mean, the New York Knicks, their bench had outplayed the Pacers in the first half. When you take a look at the two threes that Cameron Payne gave them, and then once again the offensive rebounding for Mitchell Robinson. Now that was the storyline throughout the start of this game, where the Knicks had a decent cushion. It was their advantage on the boards because we talked about heading into this series how obviously the Indiana Pacers have been playing like the best team in the playoffs so far, but if there was any weakness that they've had in both the Milwaukee and Cleveland series, it's that they were struggling on the boards. They were, I think, 16th in the playoffs, dead last in second chance points, offensive rebounds, and they were losing the paint battle, paint points in those matchups as well. Obviously, Milwaukee and Cleveland are good interior teams, but New York was taking advantage of that in the first half, and it obviously led to success. And Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart in the first half just kept getting the Knicks second chance opportunities. Then in the third quarter, Pacers started to go on a run. I mean, Haliburton played great. I thought TJ McConnell once again had a couple big buckets. He's obviously been big for them off the bench. But heading into this fourth quarter, I mean, it was really just a track meet on the offensive end for both sides. I mean, the Pacers really trailed most of this game, but it was only by like between 2 to 8 points because it just seemed like the Pacers and Knicks were trading baskets, and that wasn't going to cut it for the Pacers. And New York goes on their crazy run to start the fourth quarter. with Jalen Brunson on the bench. Joey, you mentioned it. We're not really used to seeing the Knicks have much success when Brunson's off the floor, but he picks up his fifth personal foul early in the fourth quarter, and that's when New York goes on a 12-0 run to extend their lead from 2 to 14 or 16 points. And that's, what do you guys think was the biggest key in them extending their lead? Nick, let's start with you.
For the Knicks extending their lead in the second half,
Yes.
um, I don't know. Indiana's interior defense was just really poor, and maybe they just started hitting more shots in the second half because I feel like, like we've talked about, it was just a battle of the offenses, and I thought the Knicks offense looked good throughout the game. They got to the free throw line. I mean, a lot. Only missed 4 combined free throws between Cat and Brunson, who combined to score like 70 something points. So when you're led by those two, and then you get high impact, especially from Mikal Bridges in the first half. I think he had 12 of his 16 in the first half, and then Deuce McBride doing his thing off the bench. Campaign hit a couple shots off the bench. That's a good recipe for the next offense to like will them to extend the lead.
Yeah, and then of course, once the Knicks extend this to a 12, 14, 16-point lead, I think it was even up to 17 or 19 maybe in the fourth quarter. Most of us are probably thinking, all right, New York just, they come out guns blazing in the fourth quarter, hit so many dagger shots. They have a 14-point lead with 2.5 minutes to go. We're all thinking that it's probably over. But Joey, the Pacers strike it again. And you mentioned earlier, Aaron Nesmith goes on an unbelievable tear in the fourth quarter to get the Pacers back in the game.
I know you showed the graphic and it said that he had 30 points, and if you notice, it had 8 for 9 from three. He went 5 for 5 or 6 for 6 from that in the fourth quarter. Like, dude was unconscious, specifically in those last, like, as he hits that first one in like the 5 or 6 minute mark. After that, it's just he's just firing on all cylinders. Like, could not miss. Just coming around screens. Josh Hart slipping. He did that a couple times. I think Josh Hart's got to get new shoes. I noticed that a couple times where his shoes just slip. So, but Aaron Nesmith was going crazy. And then just to send it to overtime, Haliburton. Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. All the events that led up to that with Nesmith hitting all those crazy threes. The Knicks missing free throw, we each missing a free throw after barely being able to get the ball in. And then Tyrese Haliburton goes into the lane, sees Mikal Bridges come to the ball, immediately runs back outside, tries to get behind the 3-point line, gets one of the most incredible bounces you will ever get to tie up the game. His foot was just on the line. He does the choke celebration with Reggie Miller there. Unfortunately, they didn't win the game in regulation, but my goodness, man, I cannot believe that happened again. And I mean, how does I just don't understand how it's possible for that to happen 3 times in one playoffs where Indiana has these incredible comebacks. I mean, you look back in a span of like 3 to 4 weeks, and they've in the first round in Game 5 against the Bucks, they're down 7 with 35 seconds left in overtime. Come back and win with a Haliburton game winner. Game 2 against our Cavaliers, I was at that game. Cavs are up 7 with 47 seconds to go. Haliburton hits a game-winning three off a crazy comeback, and this one is probably the most crazy. Down 14 with 2.5 to go, and Haliburton does it again. I mean, this is one of the most incredible runs from a team that we may have ever seen.
It's just been incredible to watch, and thankfully, we can start to enjoy it now that it's not against our hometown Cavs. But someone said on Reddit, I just read the comments like these MFers just won't die, and like, yeah, that's exactly how it is. Someone else said, I can't believe I just watched Tyrese and Aaron Nesmith channel the spirit of Reggie Miller at Madison Square Garden. But here's honestly the thing, like these MFers just won't die. That's honestly what it is. Like, um, just a relentless spirit to like not give up, and that is what will keep your heartbeat going. When the Knicks, are in the position to lose everything, and you allow yourself to like let your foot off the gas or just get intimidated by being in that position, then you put yourself in a difficult spot. And the Pacers, on the other hand, never go to that place and just stay in it collectively.
Not not a lot of us thought that the Pacers going into this playoffs we thought last year was a fluke. A lot of people did. It's clearly not a fluke, guys. They have been to the Western Conference Finals or the Eastern Conference Finals. My bad. They got swept, but they have that experience. Like they know what it is to be in that kind of moment. They have been here before. The Knicks haven't been here in 25 years. So I feel like a lot of this was just nerves at the end because you could see they got real sloppy at the end and they were tired. You could tell by some of those shots, like even at the end in overtime, Jalen Brunson and Cat had decent looks that we've seen them make before. Brunson, wide right, air ball, Cat very short on the rim, barely hit the rim, but it was on target. Like they're clearly just gassed at the end. And Indiana, man, like Nick said, relentless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we should probably touch on overtime for sure because it's not like the game was over. I mean,
Yeah.
credit to the New York Knicks after giving up. I mean, it might just be recency bias, but that might. I don't know if I've seen a comeback than what we just saw at the end of regulation. I mean, 14 and 2.5 minutes on the road in MSG in the first Eastern Conference Finals game for the Knicks in 25 years to come in and do that in the fashion that they did, not missing a three. I mean, again, for the third time, everything had to go right for the Pacers, and they didn't miss a shot. Like, it had to go perfectly, and it did. But credit to the Knicks after blowing that lead. They came out, on a tear to start off overtime. They had the first two buckets over the first couple minutes. They were forcing, some missed shots on the other end from Indiana. They finally got a little bit cold. And then probably the big turning point in the overtime, which I'm sure a lot of Knick fans are unhappy with, was the play where Jalen Brunson is out in the open court, goes up for a layup, and Miles Turner or Siakam, I don't remember who it was, come in and get a block. But on replay, they never even went to it. They never called a goaltender or anything. It looked like it may have hit the backboard first, which would have been a goaltend and obviously given the Knicks 2 points. But instead, goes back the other way, and Nembhard hits a corner three. It goes from a 6-point Knicks lead to a 1-point game, and the Pacers are now back in it. They're on the board in overtime. That was the big turning point in overtime, and I am sure Knick fans are not going to be happy about that play in particular.
That's definitely understandable for them not to be happy about it. But if it's that close, and it was extremely close, and everyone was just running, they kind of just kept it going. I don't know. I know they may be upset at the two challenges that Indiana had, the one at the end of the fourth quarter and the one in overtime. But let's be real. Indiana, Rick Carlisle, and that entire coaching staff, whoever's on their replay crew telling them to challenge that, oh my gosh. Great calls. Way to save your challenge because the Knicks could have used a challenge. They used it earlier and it didn't go their way and they didn't have it. Indiana saved theirs. Proved to be crucial.
Yeah, it's a very underrated part of that coaching staff. It's not even about the, using your challenge at the right time. It's not using it early in the game with a chance of losing it, or even just using it to where you only have one remaining when, you obviously could and have a chance of losing it or even winning it early in the game. But Indiana didn't use a challenge until the play with like 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, on that crazy play where the ball is loose and Siakam and OG are going at it, the two former Raptors. I guess first of all, what were your guys' thoughts on that overall verdict there? I know it was a little difficult because while Siakam got the basketball with his right hand, he did have his left hand on Anunoby's jersey and was pushing a little bit. So what did you guys think of the call? I think verdict that the ball was still loose, so it was all incidental contact.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they made the right call after replay. That contact that you're talking about with his left hand, just like marginal, sort of like part of the basketball, normal, going after a loose ball, and not enough for them to make the. I think it was just an inadvertent whistle.
I agree. I thought it was the right call. If OG would have just caught it and went up, and even if Pascal got the ball but had him on that jersey, maybe he would have still gotten the foul call. But because it slipped out of his hands and it was going straight up in the air, and before he had complete possession of it, yeah, it made everything just completely messy. And yeah, Siakam got ball on the follow through, hit him on the arm, but at that point he already got the ball. So it was just an invert. I thought that was the right call. Great challenge by that Indiana coaching staff.
Yep, and then same thing in overtime, where New York, after trading a bunch of buckets with Indiana, where after watching the highlights again, after the game, New York gave up some very easy buckets in the final minute of overtime, which you can maybe speak to that the fatigue factor there, which we talked about heading into this series, the fact that this is kind of a series of lots of depth with Indiana versus a team that heavily relies on their starting unit in the New York Knicks. But the couple plays where Haliburton misses a wide open three, Obi Toppin is just able to fly in for an offensive rebound and putback. And then the play where Nemhard goes cutting in for a wide open layup. I mean, those are two plays that cannot happen in the final minute of an overtime game. I
And
mean,
it was two guys we were singing their praises earlier. Mitchell Robinson, who on the wide open Halliburton shot, he did a fake and did a step or two up to pretend that he was going up, but you're still 15 feet away from him. And then Obi Toppin comes running in right past where you should be. And then on the next it was Josh Hart the next time just fell asleep for a half a second. Half a second, but by that time he's already 2.5 steps ahead of you and getting that easy layup.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers, with their speed and just the attention to detail on the offensive end to just make those simple plays, it felt like, they were the team that, or I should say, it looked like they were asleep with Hart and Robinson. It looked like they were the team that had to fight back and use a bunch of energy at the end of regulation to come back, not the other way around. Those are just some inexcusable plays right there. And then there's the turnover where Nemhard knocks it off of Brunson on that play. I mean, just an incredible play by Nemhard. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to the Pacers defenders, even though Jalen Brunson had an incredible offensive game once again with the shot making. He had 43 points, 15 for 25 from the field, living at the free throw line, but he did have 7 turnovers in this game. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Pacers defenders for not giving up, even though this guy was kept on making unbelievable plays.
Yeah, like we said, just not giving up. I think the Pacers got out rebounded by 16. They did win the turnover battle by I think 8, 7-15 or so. And then, do you guys want to guess what the win probability peaked at for New York there in the fourth quarter?
Oof.
I mean,
A
it had
good
to be. Joe, you go ahead.
98.6.
Higher.
Oh,
Was it like 99.7?
It was 99.7 at
wow.
2:51. But when Brunson picked up that fifth foul in the fourth quarter, which we haven't really talked about, it was at 64 because it was 94-92, and the win probability was at 64. They go on a 10-0 run and push it to 104-92, and that pushed the win probability to 95 plus, and that's where it stayed up until, Aaron Nesmith decided to go on guns blazing.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely incredible. I mean, you think Brunson didn't come back into the game until the 5-minute mark, and when he went out of the game, like you said, it was 94-92. He comes back in, and it's 111-98. So what? Outscored 17-6 or something like that when Brunson was on the bench. And ironically enough, right when Brunson comes back in, Bridges hits a fadeaway jumper. Then Nesmith hits the first three of his, incredible run there in the fourth quarter. Man, he really made 6 threes in 5 minutes.
And about, yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
I mean, I was trying to think before we got on here. I was talking with, Nick and Joey. Like, when is the last time that we saw a role player hit like 4, 5, or 6 threes like that, go on that type of tear in a playoff game to lead a comeback or extend a lead? Like, I can't even think of a role player to do that. Obviously, it's normally your star to just go crazy. We're used to seeing a Curry, Flurry, or Clay back in when the Splash Brothers days with the Warriors, but Aaron Nesmith, really? In game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final? Incredible. I just saw his 6 threes in the fourth quarter. What was that? I think I saw it's the most in a playoff quarter in history. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah, 6 threes in the fourth quarter is the most ever by any player in the play-by-play era. So just a historic game. Absolutely a historic game. And, in overtime, obviously that last play where Brunson and Towns each get okay looks at threes, but, missing because of the fatigue. And Indiana goes on to win this game by 3. I cannot believe that they stole this game. And this is a heartbreaker for the New York Knicks. I mean, look, Knicks fans, we feel you as Cavs fans. We were just there in game 2 because this feels like, if you're the New York Knicks, I feel like they're probably in the same, feeling as probably Cavs fans were after game 2, or at least me, where, it feels like they won the game. Like, it felt like the Cavs won game 2. It felt like the Knicks had done everything to win game 1, but you didn't. That counts as a loss. And again, 3rd series in a row, you cannot give up these losses, especially on your home floor, early in a series. So, of course, it's just game 1. But this obviously is not the best thing to happen for the New York Knicks.
All right. I got some quick Cavs legendary poll here. Back on June 2nd, 2007, we had Boobie Gibson go for 3 threes and a couple pull-ups to score, 13 points in the fourth quarter of the Game 6 series clinching conference finals versus the Pistons. So that must be the closest thing we got to Aaron Nesmith, 6 threes in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's gotta be the closest.
That's half.
Thing.
That's half of what he did.
Yeah, and even that was to extend it from a close game to like a blowout in the fourth quarter of that closeout game. This was to come back and force, overtime, go on a full out, like, I mean, not full out Tracy McGrady, but just, it was something close to that. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. But now heading into game 2 of this series, which will be on Friday back in New York, how do the Knicks come back from this? Of course, coming off of a game 1 where, again, they did so much to win this game. They did so many great things. I mean, they lose a game where Towns and Brunson combined for 78 points. Both shoot 60% from the field, have double-digit free throw attempts. How do they come back from a heartbreaking loss like this in game 2 to even up this series?
I don't know. I think this was a huge game, game 1, because, it went exactly how the Pacers wanted, even if they wouldn't have gotten the win, and they did, sneak out with a come-from-behind win because, they pressured New York for 48 minutes, the entire length of the court. They put pressure on New York's rim the entire time that they had the basketball, and they're going to wear New York down. So the fact that New York blew a 19, 17-point lead in the fourth quarter and had to deal with all of that is not a good, first step for them in the series.
Well, obviously, game 2 is must win for New York now. Like, you have to win this, or the series is pretty much over. But even on the Knicks side, like, they played into the Pacers' hand, but like the Knicks played a fantastic game. Like, they had everything going. It was just that a role player just got hot and insanely hot, like just couldn't miss. So they just got, but in those moments of fatigue, they got to lock in still. Make it a little more difficult. Make sure you're not slipping on the floor. Make sure you in the right state. Make sure you're just locked into every single moment. Make sure you're where you're supposed to be. Block out. it's just those little things that we talked about made the difference because they played a fantastic game. Your bench played great minutes and helped extend your lead. Like you had everything going for you, and you did just kind of choke it away from a couple little moments that slipped.
I mean, literally, if you're the New York Knicks, you're probably thinking, look, if either Cat or OG make one of those free throws, we win this game. Or if Aaron Nesmith misses 1 3 in the fourth quarter, they don't make the comeback. Like that's all it was. If they did, if, like I said earlier, they had to make every single shot to come back and win that game. They had to play incredible basketball in order to pull it out. So I mean, it's if you're the Knicks, that's not a horrible feeling, coming out of this game that the Pacers had to have an all-time shooting performance in the fourth quarter to come out with a road victory. But again, it's now you're playing this series from behind.
It sucks to have the feeling that you choked it away. It really does. But the reality that you should be able to come away with and that you should be able to live with is that you should have won this game and you did choke it away. Like there was a couple moments that like you guys got to remind yourselves, like maybe use one of those timeouts, Thibodeau, talk to the guys, lock the F in. Time to pay attention to all the little moments because that's all it is. Because everybody did their job. It was just in a couple crucial moments.
Yeah, at the end of the day, New York Knicks lost by 3 in overtime to the hottest team in the league, on their home floor. And, it just happens. But it's happened to a lot of teams in these playoffs. I mean, the Pacers just continue to play so incredible. Nick, you mentioned that point earlier about wearing down the New York Knicks. And we already kind of saw that a little bit in this game one, where we saw, Brunson and Towns get hit, Mitchell Robinson get hit. Josh Hart slipping all over the court, like you said there, Joey. I mean, it reminded me a lot of the Cleveland series where you're going in, you're healthy, but you run into this Pacers team where they play such a physical defense. And I think, and in my personal opinion, it's just physical enough to where it doesn't cross the line, but it's very close to being a little bit too much. And just one game in, if you're the New York Knicks, you kind of go from being fully healthy to a lot of your guys are already banged up after just one game.
One thing I do think that the Knicks can look towards for the rest of the series is taking advantage of those non-Halley minutes because, especially in the first half, the McConnell minutes were not very good. And if you can, you know, build a lead or just have a good plus minus during those minutes where Tyrese isn't out there, I think that'll really go a long way.
100%. Nick McConnell played well for them, but like you said, he ain't Haliburton. Haliburton can drain it from freaking 35 feet if he wants to.
Yeah, you can have any of those incredible moments. I mean, the playoff run for that guy has been it's been it's probably been the best so far of this season with all the theatrics that we've had this year.
He got very lucky that they still won. Otherwise, that choke would have been really, really bad.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you what, if the Pacers had lost this game and had ended up losing this series in 6 or 7 games, I mean, this would have been just like the Kevin Durant Brooklyn Nets game 7 with the toe on the line. I mean, this would have gone down as one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history, but Pacers win the game, don't have to worry about it.
If the Knicks win this series, though, I guarantee you that picture is going to be all up on Times Square.
Yep. Probably, but overall, just an incredible game. I mean, that was only game 1.
We still got hopefully 6 more of these.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Knicks can come back again. That game 2 is going to be on Friday. But before we get out of here, looking ahead to tonight, we've got game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between Minnesota and Oklahoma City after the Thunder took game 1 on Tuesday night. In a very impressive second half performance. I guess before we get into quickly previewing the game, shout out to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, announced finally that he won the Most Valuable Player Award. So shout out to SGA for winning the MVP. Nick, what were your thoughts on it finally getting announced that SGA won his first MVP?
Yeah, keyword being finally. My thoughts were that they waited until after the Western Conference semifinal series between the two top candidates to pick the winner. Other than that, just cool to see him win his, you know, see a guy win his first MVP.
Much deserved, well deserved. He's had a fantastic year. I know a lot of people are going to call him the free throw merchant. I would ask them to go look at stats numbers that don't lie and look at former 30-point per game scorers and how many free throws they attempted, because Shea's not even at 9 free throws a game.
Yeah, I mean, if you score a lot in this league, chances are you're getting to the free throw line a lot. That's just, that's just how it is. Great players get to the free throw line, and he does it exceptionally well. I personally had Jokic winning his 4th MVP. I really don't understand why they waited this long to reveal the winner of the award, because all the votes, at least it's portrayed, that all the votes are submitted by the end of the regular season. So it doesn't really make sense. Probably not the case since they waited until afterwards.
This was a regular season award.
Right. But even then, it's not like it was crazy that he would win the regular season MVP award. I mean, that's probably the reason I'd give it to him, right? I mean, 68 win OKC team, leading the league in scoring, very good defender as well. And winning the MVP. The voting breakdown, Shea and Jokic took all 100 of the first and second place votes combined. So good to see. A lot of times we have some questionable voting with some random first place awards, first place voting, but those two were the first and second respectively. Then Giannis, then Jason Tatum got 4th, then it was Donovan Mitchell 5th, then LeBron, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, and then you've got 4 guys that got minuscule votes. You got Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson, James Harden, and Evan Mobley getting 1-point vote for MVP. So let's see, what was that? 11 guys? 12
Not
guys that
yet.
got voted for MVP. But yeah, so anyways, looking ahead to this game 2, Minnesota and Oklahoma City. We kind of talked about it. Nick and I did on the recap last night. But Joey, what were your overall thoughts about the Thunder taking game 1 of that series, and what do you kind of hope to see from Minnesota as they look to get a bounce back win in game 2?
Maybe come out at halftime with a different mentality, because I didn't really watch the game a whole lot because I was watching my friend's softball game. But as soon as after we went to the bar and I started watching the second half, and OKC was just absolutely crushing it, and they showed the stat that they outscored them like 70-40 in the second half, like that. That can't happen, Minnesota. Like, y'all had it in the first half. Fortunately, OKC's a complete team, and they're going to come out in the second half with that home crowd behind them, a completely different team. Y'all should have been ready for it. But here we are, and they better just lock in next game. But make sure you play a complete game. All 4 quarters. Not just the first half. You got to lock in for the rest of the game.
Yep, if there's anything that we've learned through these playoffs, it's that you have to play a full 48 minutes of basketball to pull out a victory, especially if you do it in the first 3 quarters, or you just pull an Indiana Pacers and just play a 3-minute stretch in the 4th quarter and hit every single shot, and then you're set. Nick, since we recapped and previewed this game already, I'll ask you a different question. I know it's a little bit on the spot here. Do you have 2 or 3 predictions or bold predictions or takes or things that you want to see happen the most in game 2 here tonight?
I want to see the Wolves keep the Thunder under 110 points. I think that would be a good goal for them to win game 2. I want to see Ant-Man have 8 or more assists. And not allow the rotate. Like, I want to see some adjustments from the Wolves rotation too, because in the second half when the Thunder really pulled away, it was Rudy and Ant-Man together on the bench. I talked about in the recap, and I don't think that was a very good thing that they did lineup wise. So yeah, just experimenting with the rotations a little bit, keeping that defensive pressure up, like Joey talked about, for 4 full quarters, and then have Ant-Man being a playmaker.
Yeah, I think that my two key things kind of go along with that. I mean, I agree with the Anthony Edwards thing. I mean, him only taking 13 shots and only having 3 assists, that shouldn't be the correlation should be that he has only 13 shot attempts, and I think he only took like 3 shots in the second half, but you have like 6 to 9 assists, you're getting all your other guys involved. That was not the case. He also had 4 turnovers, and Minnesota, of course, against this OKC team, you got to take care of the basketball. We'll talk about it every single game with them. Got to take care of the ball because this Thunder team has thrived all season long off of other teams' mistakes. And honestly, I think the Timberwolves, you just need to get one of your role players to just make shots because none of them did in this game. I mean, the shooting was absolutely horrendous from everyone outside of Randall and Edwards, in the first half. But in the second half, it was absolutely brutal. I mean, we mentioned the 3 bench guys from Minnesota. It was terrible for those guys. And in the second half, Minnesota shot just 5 for 23 from 3-point range with 8 turnovers to just 10 assists. So didn't play that great of a second half. Of course, that got outscored 70-40, but excited to see how they bounce back here in game 2. Joey, do you have anything you're looking forward to in game 2?
Hopefully a battle, because like I said, I missed the first half, which was the fun part. Because when I was able to watch it, it was just OKC just pulling away with the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they're loaded recap here in these playoffs with the conference finals now fully underway. Cannot wait. Coming up tomorrow, we will be back, or at least some of us will be back for the recap for game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Again, that's 8:30 on ESPN. Timberwolves and Thunder. OKC looking to take that 2-0 lead with the MVP now officially on their side. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, before we get out of here, quick shout out to Ben Axelrod, who is graduating high school today. Our boy.
Our boy Ben, congratulations.
Good luck,
Yes.
Ben. Have a
Yes,
good day, man. Congrats.
Yes, sir. Good luck with life.
Good luck with life.
Post
Watch out, life.
Here comes Ben.
Big Ben is coming. And he'll be back on here for the podcast soon enough. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.